Our, our panel discussion today will be about enhancing process safety culture in the oil and gas industry, challenges and best practices, and it will be moderated by Mr. Ali Hazmi. And I'd like to invite him to the stage. Also, I'd like to invite the panelists, Mr. Rahman Fadl, Mr. Sham Speit, and Mr. Nasir Bokar to the stage.
السلام عليكم. تفضل اختار. أفضل. طيب. السلام عليكم. Good afternoon and welcome to this special session. In my opinion, the best of the day is always the panel discussion. Now, when the topic of the panel discussion about the culture, then that would add another factor on the importance of it. And when you have this kind of panelists with you, a mix of management and engineering panelists, then this will add definitely a value to the discussion. My name is Ali Hazmi, and I will be the moderator of the session. I think we'll start first by introducing a brief introduction of each one of the panelists. Although I know you know them very well, but just to make sure that everybody knows about them. About the Aziz.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم. سعد الله مساكم بالخير. عبد الرحمن عبد العزيز الفاضل. I have 40 years experience with Saudi Aramco. The last 10 years I was the manager of Saudi Aramco Riyadh refinery, the most complex refinery in Saudi Aramco. And I hope we can add to this session as a panelist, and we're ready for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Sham Speit, most safety lead in Aramco. Experiences of over 28 years. Glad to be here to share the about.
اسمعنا الصوت يا اخوان.
Yeah.
ها؟
Is it clear, my voice? Yeah, thank you. So glad to be here to share the knowledge and have an exchange, a dialogue. Thank you.
هذا ناصر.
Switch on.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nasir Bokar. I am a SABIC employee and operation senior manager. I have 12 years of experience ranging between working in operation, process engineering, process safety, as well as the HSS. I'm glad to be here today sharing my knowledge and practices with you gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you, Nasser. The way we are going to conduct the session is that I will be asking a question to one of the panelists, and then the other panelists can comment or add to the answer, and then we'll move from one panelist to the other. After we finish from the panelist questions, we will start the first question to Mr. Rahman Al-Fadl. We would like to make sure that we are on the same page of understanding the culture. So, Abdulaziz, what is the culture? To hear specifically about the road safety culture and why it is important.
Let me just mention briefly what do we mean by process safety, because this was recently introduced after a lot of experience. Well, process safety simply it is a framework to manage the integrity risk of a facility, of operating facility, by having a good design, engineering principles, and operating principles. And I will focus on the last one because I think engineering, design, and the engineering principles, I think they are very well covered worldwide. What really we like is the operating principles, and there are a huge difference from place to place when it comes to operating principles. And that have history. It is not just today, because the most dangerous attitude to have is to task the safety to the safety team. So people with time think that safety is not their role, which is completely different. And I think the management have a major role to play on embedding the sincere thinking that safety is the responsibility of everybody. Forming a safety team does not mean they take your responsibility. They should be used just to administer it, to have KPIs, but the safety as itself, that's the responsibility of operation if they have operation, if it's maintenance if they are doing any activity, if it's engineering if they are doing it. Maybe I will cite one example of the demonstration of this culture. I just mentioned it yesterday in my presentation, but I wish I have enough time, and I think the organizers are generous enough to me. They gave me 50% more than the allocated time for me. But I wish to talk more about it, which is the MOC. MOC is very critical, very critical. You can have a design, a perfect design of a plant, and if you leave it as is, it would be safe. But, well, this is the nature of the business. With time, you need to have upgrade, you need to have change, you need to have, and this is the most dangerous thing, that when you apply the changes without proper documentation, that will be a risk with you forever. But the right way of doing it, once you do an MOC, you have to engineer it, and you have to execute it the right way, and you have to document it the right way. And I will tell you what did we do in Riyadh Refinery. Well, with time, we were not controlling the MOC very well from one aspect only. We have very good MOC, but one of the aspects that we felt there is a hole there, which is, well, an operation discussion in the morning, when they came up with an idea, why don't we have that jump over? It's easy, it's simple, short line, we can do it, and you have very energetic maintenance. I said, yes, I can do it. And they do it. Inspection, they inspect it, but they don't document it. And after 10 years, nobody will know about this one. So until we decided to assign an MOC owner in which no MOC should be processed without his approval. And he have all the requirements of the MOCs. And imagine when we did this, you will be, I'm sure you have run to the same examples. Who is responsible to initiate MOC? That was the first question, because not everybody wants to initiate it because it have a lot of requirements. But that guy made the discussion very easy because 90% of the MOCs are very clear who should issue it. The question about the remaining 10%. So he said, if you know it, issue it. If you don't know it, ask me. And he requested the management himself to include him in the approval, although the maintenance work orders only between maintenance and operation. But we have to call Dhahran Engineering, the guys who designed the SAP workflow, and we forced them to include that guy, he's an engineer, in the workflow. This is a culture where he himself value the need for him to know all and everything and approve it. And since then, this MOC became one of the distinguished procedures whenever we have a review. And I'm sure people will gain the benefit of this in the years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hisham, would like to reflect?
Thank you. Actually, I cannot add more. Been highlighted by Abu Abdulaziz. Rather than maybe a few things to be added. The process safety culture, I know our mindset, especially. Wow, that's what I think. Yeah. So I know our mindset sometimes still we have an ambiguity between the occupational safety or process safety. So safety culture or process safety culture. So what addition that I would like to add is the process safety culture. What is it when it comes to the industry is simply what is the BSM requirement, how it is being implemented within the site. So the implementation will give you an indication about the culture itself of that organization. And when we talk about the BSM or SMS, it starts from leadership, risk assessment, MOCs, asset integrity, operation, safe operation, etc., up to the incident investigation. So these, I would say, pillars will give you a clue about the process safety culture from the efficiency of the implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalifa. Nasser?
I have maybe covered the whole aspects about the process safety culture. I want to only add that making sure the behaviors of the organization on the different levels in the organization reacting to the process safety requirements in the organization, what really makes the culture. The leaders or the top leaders in the organization is the deal maker, the deal maker of keeping the process safety culture on top of that.
Thank you, Nasser. Okay, so this clearly indicates that the culture is very crucial for the achieving the process safety objectives. This will lead to another question, which is, are there any recorded industrial incidents or accidents due to lack of process safety cultures? Hisham?
There is so many actually, and I recall one of them that being presented just today by Abu Umar about filling blindly, I would say. It was in CSP, and you see that organization, how they used to fill their kerosene tanks blindly. Although there is some deficiency in the asset integrity, etc., but it is not in their priority. So if that organization have a sense of the maturity level as a process safety, they wouldn't definitely keep the level transmitters out of calibration or defected and running, relying on a human interface to record the time. Likewise, the bounce feed, for example, also another incident. The third incident is the T2 explosion, which is happened in one of those reactive chemical industry in US, where they scale up simply, increase the production without resizing and doing the right MOC to scale up the reactor, and accordingly no enough cooling, and the explosion happened. It was a severe explosion, honestly, and you may refer to it also in CSP. So those give you how the process safety culture within those organizations as a less than adequate, and it comes and results in a severe explosion or fatality or toxic release. So these are just a symbol. One of them, as I said just a while ago, this morning, being presented by our colleagues, Mohammed Rawam. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now you want to develop and maintain a positive process safety culture, but you will be faced by challenges. So, Abu Abdulaziz, can you just talk about some of the challenges that maybe encountered while trying to develop and maintain a high positive culture?
I think this perception of challenges created by us as management, when we have an idea that at the end of the day it has to be implemented by operator or technician, we don't involve them from day one. We only sit together, engineers, supervisors, loss prevention, safety, and we hash it days and nights, and when we finish, we just send it to them to implement. And I know many cases operators laugh on it because they think it is impossible. And I have run to examples where one of the supervisors want to test the credibility of the outside reading by the operators. They are smart, don't underestimate them. They are smart and they can take you around without knowing. So he decided at the beginning of the shift, so they normally, previously they do a manual data filling from the field data that they are not connected to the DCS. So he said, he received it every day full. No, none of the points are not registered. So he said, I have doubt because some of them are high elevated, some of them is very far. So he went at the beginning of the shift to one of the gauges. He took it to his office, pressure gauge. And at the end of the shift, he see the sheet, there are readings from that gauge. It's not there. But the guy built sense with years, because they say, well, if this pressure change, I will see it in another parameters. Why to bother? So they kept writing it as if they read it. And he confronted them. He said, well, I have doubt about these readings. Let's go and check in the field. And here is it. It was not there. So involving operators, involving technicians on the procedures will give it credibility and will have an ownership. They will apply it because they know. But to embed it on them without them knowing the difficulties of it, knowing the importance of it, what is it for them to fill it? And one day, I remember, that was the most tough comment I received from an operator. You know, we asked them to fill this long sheets of data, and by law, every morning, the engineer should take these sheets, analyze them, see what is the deviations, and work in them. Wallahi al-Azim. And one day, I went to one of the shelters or control rooms, and they are fed up from us asking them to fill these seats. And do you know how he confronted me? He said, now this is a 3-month seat sitting in our offices. Nobody is taking it, even the engineers. So they are very smart, very smart. So don't play games with them, they know, and if you want them to do anything, it is very, very critical.
Nasser, you want to reflect?
I believe if we want to really make a change on our process safety culture, we need to look into these factors. I agree with Abdul Aziz, keeping the shop floor people as a part of the change will make them the right change agents for you within the process down the road. However, we need to look into how people are always reacting to our process safety. We need to measure their behavior whenever we get into an incident or we get into an assessment of implementation of a process safety system like an MOC or PSSR. We need to understand how people really are reacting with these processes, and out from there we can make sure that we set the right way of dealing with this pressure. Another factor that we often overlook is connecting with people when you do these changes, delivering the information rather than communicating the information. Now, the old-fashioned way was sending emails, trying to get the knowledge disseminated through these tools is not going to work anyway. And believe me, gentlemen, sometimes connecting with the people in the smoking shelter will only deliver the message in the right way. So I believe the system has to be analyzed, how people are really reacting to the implementation, and out of there we can set the right management plan.
Sean?
Yeah, setting the process safety cultures within the organization. Definitely, as my colleague said, it's the communication, the engagement between the two layers, the executive and the shop floor. Okay. So لا والله لا الإضاءة مزعجتني معلش. I'm very sorry guys. So Abdul Aziz said driven by the executive layer, and that is the leadership, and how the shop floor absorb it if they did not lead by example as an executive layer. As far as they are there, for sure the journey will get improved when it comes to the process safety culture.
Thank you. Okay, come now to the next question. Is there any process for measuring the process safety culture? Is there any system, any methodology? So, you start,
Shall we start? If you don't mind, Dr. Aziz. Yeah. Thank you. Nasser. Thank you. Yes, actually, there is a multiple process, and there is a best practice or good practice. I mean, and I remember in my colleagues, we demonstrate that when I was in SABIC, and it has multiple steps how to start building the process safety culture within your organization, and that steps start by doing the cultural survey. And that cultural survey, you need to be careful as a simple question targeting all the layers of the organization. The second one is looking to the incident within that organization, the incident report. The third one is looking to the risk assessment identification within that organization when it comes to due date or outdated. And last but not least is doing the culture assessment. Now that is different than the cultural survey assessment. The the cultural assessment focus on the interview, and that interview, it has its own way how to be conducted, targeting which layer and by whom as well. So within that techniques, it will reveal a lot, where you need to gather up those feedback by a neutral committee, analyzing the feedback and define the weakness within that organization where you need to build up your mitigation. Now, one trick in this techniques is once you analyze the feedback, you need to watch out the feedback from the executive layer and the feedback from the shop floor. For certain questions, is there a gap between both layers? Then, if that gap is there, then it's gonna help you a lot to identify the mitigation, and at the same time, it gives you a concern about their level when it comes to the process safety maturity. And accordingly, you start developing the journey until the sustainable solution, which is the second phase, how you develop it and implement it. Thank you.
Maybe I can comment on Khalifa. I agree on the best practice you have mentioned, and maybe at SABIC now we are also utilizing a similar model. However, you've mentioned that the cultural survey is a very critical tool, and we need to target in the cultural survey to measure the organizational layers' perceived level of risk. We need to understand how the organization and the different layer having their perceived level of risk. Another point that we need to measure in the cultural survey is how much the organization is maintaining level of vulnerability. Some organizations that are not passing through accident or incident, they might have low level of vulnerability sense, and that would really affect their judgments or practices during the cultural analysis. Taking the outcome in the BDCA cycle as a continuous improvement will help also in setting the right change for the process safety culture.
Thank you. About Aziz, and a reflection?
Now, let me tell you what was the most challenging for me when I was a manager. Imagine you are managing 1,000 employees, 70% of them is below the age of 30, and you are at the age of 60. You have only two options. Either you push them to think the same way you think, or you think the same way they think. And with no single doubts, you have to go down and think the same way they think. You cannot push them to think the same way we think. They are smarter. They have now these intelligent devices. They have a lot of things to do, and I cannot forget one day a foreman, 3 foremen, came to us complaining about the operators are bringing their iPad to the refinery, and they are using it. And when they confronted them, they said, well, give us any rule in the company not allowing to bring iPad. What to do with these guys? And the 3 foremen came to complain. How can we answer them? Yes, there is nothing in the company rule preventing them from bringing iPad. So what we told them, we told them, see, I am not obligated to tell you what is allowed, what is not allowed. The only thing you sign a contract is to work 8 hours. Whatever distracting you from doing your job, even if you read Quran, you are not allowed. You have only to do the work. But we discovered that the issue is deeper than this. And I remember Riyadh Refinery hosted a safety boot camp, and if you hosted, the manager is responsible to give them a challenge at the first day of the week, and he come at the end of the week to listen to them, what do they do. So I gave them a challenge of joint site inspection. Before you issue a work order, you have to do a joint site inspection, both operation and maintenance. Go to the site, check it's safety, and it is ready for the implementation. Most of the work permits, this job site inspection are not done because maintenance and operation are friends. They trust each other, and they said, well, I have visited this place 100 times. And this is dangerous. So I gave them that challenge. I said, why they are not doing site inspection? There are 17 participants in that boot camp, and only one answered it. Only one out of 17. The 16 were complaining about the youth. They are old. They are complaining about the youth, and they are not caring, and they are always playing with their mobiles, and one of them, he was really very sincere answer, and I took his feedback to his management, and I told them out of the 17, only one answered. He said, this issue is not the operator issue. It is us as management. And he said, every day I sat with them to give them tasks to ensure that the whole day is busy with something useful, not just to be busy. And with this, they don't have any time to look at the mobile. So if you leave them alone, well, don't blame them. So really the call on the senior management in any facilities is the youth is wealth and could be turned to strength. If you go and think the same level of thinking they do, they are smart. You can't play games with them. They are very smart, but we need to utilize this level of thinking on the best to do our business safely and professionally.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll give the floor to the audience for questions. Introduce yourself, please, and question.
Thank you very much. Abdulaziz, you mentioned about and he considered about the humans, it's very important. And we think the routine job is killing the talent which in the plant. And we see a lot of talent people when they give him fixed routine every day doing it without using their capability. At the end, the job will be boring. And we have to give all the manpower, the operator, the technicians, valuable. They are valuable in a plant. They can analyze all the information in the plant, and their area is under their control. If they don't give him that feeling, they will not feel responsibilities. As we said, every day they are going inside the plant. They take the readings. Maybe for a week, all the readings exactly same. How we can analyze that gauge is working, is not working? Yeah? How they can analyze that reading from yesterday and today and tomorrow? And they have control, full control of that one. If only he feeling the paper and put it in the shelf, no benefit for him. He don't feel the valuable thing what he doing. He thinking all the valuable, the guy who is working at the panel, panel man, which is control all the plant, and only he giving the decision to the operator outside. He's controlling everything. No, who controlling the area is the operator. He control all the safety. He's the only one. He see everything in the like one of the operator. One time he give he give me the job task as I'm instrumentations. One of our technicians, he removed the gauge and take it to workshop, and he a little bit delayed because he need to calibrate that one. He found it's faulty, and the operator came back again to me, and he told me, "Where is my gauge?" I told him, "Which gauge you're talking about?" He said, "That gauge with this asset number, that one." How much this operator he feel that gauge belong to his area is very important to his self. Yeah, it's not just assets, it's in his area. Yeah, that much the operator he should be valuable, and his area is valuable for him. Everybody appreciate what he's doing at that area. That's what I feel everybody has to do with this one. And if you have any things to add in that one, yeah, the way we are explaining that one, that's adding valuable to operator. Thank you very much.
You know, after the story I told you about the sheet and they complained, and I think that was a wake-up call. And we start to respect these sheets. I'll give you one example for the sake of time. When the fan outlet temperature was kept rising slowly. And the previous habit, we don't look at these sheets. But in order for the operator to take loyalty to that sheet, we start to grab any opportunity to initiate any requirements because of his readings. And because of that fan outlet was going up slowly, we requested engineering to evaluate, was it fouled, and it turns to be fouled, and we took a decision to stop it, isolate it, and to clean it. But the most important thing, we told the operator, we are now going to clean it because your readings are the first indicator for us to take this action. So if you want these smart, 70% of the plant, smart employees to be utilized in the best manner, you need to respect them, you need to feed them back. Anything you ask them, you need to, as you mentioned, let them feel, let them know that the management is valuing it and is taking action because of it. Otherwise, as you mentioned, they are smart, they know how much, and they will fill it, and if you don't notice it, why do they? I will tell you more than that. We thought we are smarter than them. They're not. We decided to install a handheld machines with a barcodes in every instrument. What do you think? As a management, we thought that there is no way to take the data until you visit the plant. We were thinking that this is the only way, and we were very assured that they are visiting the field to take it. But they are smarter than us. You know, they have the barcode generated in the Red Rovers. And they are taking it every day. And we thought, they are doing. So don't play games with them. You need to respect them. You need to respect their level of thinking. And you need to always smartly telling them that I know. So the guy who recorded an increase in the temperature, when we told him we are going to shut this fan, hand it over to maintenance, and clean it because of reading. Yes, engineering evaluated it, but what triggered it is yours. So if we are serious about it, I am calling them wealth, both technician and the operators. Wealth that nobody is tapping to it. We're only depending on engineers and supervisors, but we're very, very mistaken. And we are depriving ourselves from people who are in front of the machines 24 hours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you, gentlemen, for the great presentations. My name is Abdul Rahman Al-Harbi. I'm a process safety engineer who recently process safety department, coming from 7 years of operation background in Sabic Agri-Nutrient Company. Since I joined process safety department and having gone through the basic training and getting exposed to the major incidents that shaped our understanding of process safety today, I started developing nagging questions, okay, since I joined here. One of the obvious one is why these kind of catastrophic incidents keep happening. And I'm not saying they should go to zero, no, but they keep happening for the same reasons many times. It seems like it's inevitable. It's once in a while a catastrophic incident happens for the same reasons. And in trying to understand a pattern in that, I started noticing and analyzing these incidents from back in the 1800s, from the mining catastrophic incident till today. There were certain patterns that caught my attention. For example, it's pertaining exactly to the process safety culture in the organization. One of these patterns is that in each incident that you examine, be it Bhopal, Piper Alpha, these major incidents, there was always a toxic mix of attempting to reduce cost, budget cutting, okay, with the pressure to continue operation. This has been a common toxic mix for any incident that you analyze. And this requires us to kind of deliver this message counter current to the top management, because this kind of pressure comes from top down, not bottom up. And you can imagine the difficulty of delivering such a message to the top management coming from bottom up communication. So my question is, from your experience, what do you suggest as a good approach to deliver this kind of message? Because it's not, education is not always the top management in education, the down level. So there has to be some kind of communication channel going the other way around to deliver such messages. Thank you very much.
Actually, Abdurrahman, you have hit a major stone with your points. I totally agree with you. As I spoke in a minute back, the top leaders in the organization are the deal makers, whether they are the one who will make it or break it, simply. And if those top management or leaders in the organization really believes in the process safety impacts and how it could really kill their business, nobody would jeopardize his assets right now. We know even locally now we started to taking these people into courts. So things has become more stringent. They know, top leaders now, that they have a big deal, they have a big role to play in, and from ourselves as a middle management or frontliners, we also need to keep pushing them, mimicking similar situations in the industry that you have in your place, showing them what could impact in that industry. I think, as also Manah said in the morning, talking to the people subconscious is something difficult, and we'll always start with letting them feel the dangers of their acts, and from there they would move. A good example for that I could really make on that. One day in one of the facilities, one of the operators has came up and said that we have a problem in the furnace. We are exceeding the design temperature, and along with the time, the furnace tubes they would burst and they would cause an explosion. He was saying this message to his direct leader, which is the middle manager. The middle manager, he did the risk assessment. The risk assessment covered to the major level as a typical risk assessment, and it went to the top organization leader. As you said, the pressure of the money, the pressure of the profit is there, But the leader, he also was supporting to the business because he understand if he keep continuous operating like this, he will lose his plant and he will never make his profits. So it is an interlinked relation between the profit and also the process safety. You need to make your mechanical integrity right. Mechanical integrity right or reliability is correct. That means the process safety is correct. And then you will get the profits at the end. And I believe now the top leaders in the organizations are really understanding this these days.
Thank you, Hassan. Khalifa, you want to add something?
Thank you for this good question. And it is, by the way, to become a rule of thumb in process safety industry. There is no new accident. It keeps repeating. And there is a lot of books being, I would say, written and published as well, and you can refer to it. It tells you a sad story, but it's very nice. However, each root cause repeated in so many industries, written. And unfortunately, since the beginning of the industry, it keeps repeating. And why is that? Just to add to my colleague's answer. Any organization, it has a culture by nature. And once they establish their process safety culture, that organization, those leaders there, driving, building up the process safety culture, not only safety culture. It will sustain, and the number of incidents, what will happen, get minimized. And what happened with that organization, when those leaders left and new leaders came with different mindset, got interrupted somehow. And again, that is the weak point where those incidents, potential for repetition, whether by MOCs or, I would say, asset integrity, corrosion under insulation, etc., etc. Now, once it's been threatened by this, then we can say that process safety culture get diluted somehow. Once it is diluted to a certain level, definitely pass through a severe level where most of the population within that organization get shaped with the newcomers. Again, you need to restart again that building safety culture to minimize the number of incidents. Yesterday, when we saw the presentation from Abdulaziz, by the way, he highlighted one, I would say, special safety culture. That knots, you see, when it fell down, they took a pictures. Most of us, they didn't bother. Most of us, maybe they said, it's housekeeping issue from TNI, major TNI. And out of TNI, you will find a lot of mess, even your housekeeping to the best fit. But the good thing is, that founder who found that knots, there was something in his mind. What is it? What if? And from where? That culture itself, we call it in process safety, questioning culture. When you reach to that level, be sure that the number of incidents will not be repeated within that organization. There is a culture for sake of reporting. Just comply with the requirement, whatever. There is a culture, flexible culture, based on the organization, how it is absorbing the newcomers. And there is another culture called just for sake of reportings, or the culture who is either blaming, okay, or blaming the others from the systems, etc. But the questioning culture is not yet received yet by most of the organization. And that is the, I would say, the mature level of the process safety. I got to know this type of culture, honestly, by one article based on the Hadon Cave investigation. He led the Nimrod, and how he linked the leadership when it comes to building the process safety. And this is very nice articles, and also he has the video in YouTube. I advise really, especially those newcomers to the process safety, going back to that video, and it will add a lot of clear pathway how to build their journey in process safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Ali, how?
Yeah, we will close the quick Q&A. We're running behind the schedule, but all our esteemed panelists are here. So in the lunch break, anybody has any questions, you can directly go to them and ask the questions.
Okay.
Well, let me answer you politically. Okay? I will be lying to you if I tell you it's not being used. For the company position, if you want to use it, and it is very important to use, you have to have work permit, hot work permit. This is the company position. Now, if somebody is violating it, he deserves warning. So this is both from engineering and from loss prevention, a common sign letter by both of them that the mobile is a source of ignition, should not be used in the restricted area, and if it is mandatory to use it, you should use it after obtaining a hot work permit, like welding machine.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.